If you want to talk about rules, expectations, respect, integrity, well, then you have to live that life. Once you live that life, then you can pass that on to your kids. Otherwise, they're just going to see you as, yeah, my dad talked a big game. He was such a hypocrite. Let's not do that. Let's avoid that and have you become the lighthouse, the disciplined, inspiring leader that your family deserves. So it affects you, it affects your wife, it affects your kids. If you have a business, it affects your business. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Rising Father podcast. I'm Chris Rodak. This is Discipline Day, Consistency Day, how to get you to finally start doing the things that you cannot get yourself to do. And this past week, I've looked at the 800 plus applications we've had for Men of Fire, and this is by far the number one issue guys have, is discipline and consistency. They are falling behind in any number of areas of their life: health, marriage, parenting, income, business, their self-belief, self-confidence, identity, and it all comes back to discipline. So on today's podcast, we're going to dive into the what is the problem, who is it affecting, why is it happening, some truths you need to hear to shift your perspective and reframe the way you're looking at this, and then give you a blueprint from what has worked for me, the hundreds of guys who've gone through our program and transformed their lives in every one of these areas. So I'm hoping this can be beneficial for you. And like everything, if you take this information and do nothing with it, nothing's going to change for you. I can give you 100 discipline hacks, and then you can read 100 books on discipline, read 100 books from Tony Robbins and David Goggins and Jocko Willink, and then once again, you do nothing. Don't be a book collector. Be an action person, somebody that actually takes action on the things that he reads. And that takes us to discipline. Many of us are great at finding out information, feeling good, getting motivated, and wanting to do things. Many people want to change. Many people want to get healthy, want to start a business, want to scale their business. Many people want to fix the relationship with their wife, or many things. But wanting to do something is not the same thing as doing that thing. There's a massive canyon between wanting to do something and doing the thing. Everyone wants to do something. Like, just think about posts on Instagram that go viral, like a motivational post. Today's the day we take action. Yeah, 5 million people share it. Okay, 5 million people want to do that. How many of those people are going to take action and get healthy? 10? Maybe? Because it's easy to click. It's easy to want to do something. It's easy to think about it and feel good. But feeling good, thinking, talking, that's not the same as doing. So on today's episode, we're going to try to take you from thinking, feeling, and talking to doing. And a lot of it has to do with what's going on between your ears, and maybe we can get you motivated to do that. So you know what to do, you just can't get yourself to do it. I've talked in the past about guys who've told me, if only I had the right plan, then I'd be ripped and I'd be disciplined or whatever. No. You have all the information you need for all the areas of your life. Marriage problem, you know not to be an asshole. You know to take her out on dates. You know not to be passive-aggressive. You know to be flirtatious. Health problems, you know not to drink. You know to wake up early and go to the gym. You know to not eat 10 pieces of pizza. But knowing that you shouldn't pull into McDonald's on your lunch break at work doesn't mean you're not going to do it, as I used to do. I remember one specifically disgusting day I went to McDonald's and Wendy's all in the same lunch break. Just gross. But I look at that person and I'm like, who was that guy? But that was me. So if I can go from the guy who goes to McDonald's and Wendy's on my lunch break while I'm working a 9-to-5 teaching job I hated, to doing a 7-day fast and going to, while I'm on the 7-day fast, going out to eat with my family at my favorite restaurant, looking at desserts and having my son put chocolate in my face and just still smiling and joking with him. If I can go from that to that, then you can do this too. I was just as undisciplined as any of you. I was just as depressed. I was just as stressed out. So none of us are unique here. You listening, there's nothing that you're going through that me or some guy that I've worked with hasn't gone through. You're not special in that way, which is a great thing. You're special under the eyes of God, yes. But in terms of your circumstances being so special and unique that it excuses you from doing work, no, sorry, not giving you that one. You don't get that. Not giving you a pass. Your situation is not so unique that you can't take action today. Your situation is not so unique that you must wait until tomorrow to begin or until next month. I don't care how many times I hear it, and also how many times I say the same damn thing. I'll have guys who are like, yeah, I've been listening to your podcast for 2 years, and then they'll talk to me and say, yeah, I can't start blank today. I have to start next month. I say, have you listened to the episodes? You told me you're an avid listener. You told me you understand the philosophy, but yet you're telling me you want me to buy your excuse why you can't take action today. So once again, understanding things means nothing if you can't get yourself to do it. So listen hard if this is you, internalize it, and the biggest realization is that at the end of this, if you have a discipline problem and you do nothing to change it, that is the reason you have a discipline problem, because you're a collector of solutions. You're a collector of information. You're great at diagnosing your problem, but you do nothing. There's a lot of guys like that. They're really good at thinking about how stuck they are. They're really good at telling you how stuck they are, but they do nothing about it. They'll tell you how stuck they are for years, and they'll continue to sit there and do nothing. Don't be a collector of thoughts and inaction. Be a action taker. So that's the problem. We know what to do. We can't get ourselves to do it, right? That is the what. Then there's the who. Who does this affect? Well, this affects you. Don't you want to be happy? Don't you want to be confident? Don't you want to be strong? Don't you want to look good? Don't you want to, like, it's the end of the summer right now when I'm recording this. You listen to this? This is the end of August 2025. It's in the morning now. It's like it was 45 degrees here in Pittsburgh. A couple weeks ago, it was in the 70s. It was unbearably hot a couple weeks before that. So we're getting into that transition time from summer to fall. And next, like, so that your chance this year of, like, maybe last summer you told yourself, like, hey, next year I'm going to finally get my together and be able to walk the beach with my shirt off. I'm not going to have to be humiliated with a beach shirt on, trying to hide my gut and hate my pictures. And, like, I'm actually going to enjoy myself on vacation at the beach and not have to be drunk to escape reality. Maybe last year you told yourself that that was your goal for this year. But then once again, time has passed and nothing has changed. Yet you even bought a Peloton. How can that happen? Yet you hired a personal coach. How did that happen? You even bought that one guy's PDF of workout plans. Yet you're still the same. How in the world did that happen? Well, because you didn't focus on the thing that needs to change, which is you. You didn't focus on your identity. You didn't focus on your discipline and consistency. You kept on looking for a quick solution, an easy way out to an internal problem. That's why you're stuck in the exact same place. Who does this affect? Your confidence, your self-belief, your self-worth. If you don't believe you are capable of keeping a promise to yourself and you're capable of changing yourself, that is a massively damaging identity to have. To think about yourself, I am not capable of keeping a promise. That's hurtful. It's damaging. Makes you feel weak and unconfident. To think, okay, I have 12 months to complete this task, this goal for myself, and I don't think I can do it. It hurts. Now, here's the thing. It is okay. I'm explaining the problem to you. So if you're feeling pain here, and like, hey, that's me, that's a good thing. That is your body telling you, hey, Chris, you've got some work to do. Let's listen up and try to find out what we can do. That was me too. That's every guy who joins Men of Fire. That's what they are. That's why they need accountability. That's why they need brotherhood. That's why they need coaching. That's why they need systems, so they don't have to wing it all the time. So if that's you, there's nothing wrong with you. As I tell every guy who joins us, this is exactly where you're supposed to be. This is a group of broken men who are trying to become unbreakable. So it is okay. I'm not trying to smash your face into the ground. I am trying to let you accurately see yourself in the mirror, because so many of us men refuse to see the truth about ourselves. And and sometimes we only do it when another guy is telling us. When somebody is speaking the truth to us, because maybe a lot of us are surrounded by yes men. Maybe a lot of us are in positions where everyone wants to please us and will lie to us so they keep on getting the thing they're getting from us. That's the position of a lot of fathers, your leaders. And sometimes as leaders we let ourselves go and our discipline slip, and the people around us won't always tell us the truth. So I'm going to try to tell you the truth to help you out right now. Wouldn't you rather have that? Wouldn't you rather somebody tell you the truth so you can look at yourself and see a true reflection, and you're not looking at a magic mirror that shows you, this vision of the person your ego wants you to believe you are? Let's imagine that. Like, you go to this wizard, he shows you this mirror, and you're like, okay, look at yourself, Chris, but instead of seeing the true you, it's this person that's, your ego wants you to see, and you never really see the true you. Let's not do that. We don't want to do that. So I'm going to help us shine a mirror onto ourselves where we can identify our excuses, our self-sabotaging mindsets, maybe some thoughts that you've had, by giving you real-life examples, and you can say, oh, that's me. What can I do about it? So it affects you, okay? It affects your wife. If you are undisciplined, it undoubtedly affects your wife. It affects your wife because an undisciplined father is often an unconfident father. An undisciplined father is a father who can't be relied upon. He's one who's not dependable. An undisciplined father is one who, when the wife asks him if he can complete a task or a project or lead something in the house, she is wary of whether he will do it or not, and will then become nagging, because that is her faulty way of communicating with him, hey, I need to make sure you get this thing done. Whereas if the father was disciplined, reliable, and dependable, none of that would have to happen. Not every wife goes to that nagging communication style, obviously, but that can be a default for a lot of them. And no one's perfect. I'm not perfect. All women aren't perfect. All wives aren't perfect. We've got our own issues too, such as being undisciplined sometimes. But the more undisciplined the father is, the less of a leader he is, usually the more resentful, nagging, and cold and unfeminine the wife is, because she's forced into this masculine leadership role that she's never meant to be in, she doesn't want to be in. Or maybe this has just become her identity over the past decade since you've abdicated that responsibility to her. So yes, so your lack of discipline affects her big time. She wants to rely on you. She wants to know that you're taking care of everything. She doesn't want to be in charge of the finances all the time. Unless that's your situation and you guys have agreed upon and that's working great for you, then keep doing it. But I've talked to many guys who've abdicated that and just said, I don't want to deal with this. Because they're undisciplined, their wife just has to take over. And she runs the schedule. She runs the finances. She's making sure everything is happening. And the father comes home from work. He's like, hey, honey, hope everything's taken care of. So yes, lack of discipline absolutely affects your wife. And not all these examples are going to apply to every single person. That's not the intent here. The intent here is to identify some mirror instances where you can say, hey, that's me. This is an area of my life where I can improve and fix. So yes, lack of discipline affects you. It affects your confidence, your identity, your self-belief and self-worth. It affects your wife. It affects your relationship, your passion. Okay, it affects your health, obviously. One of the biggest things, one of the main reasons guys want to join us is because they have tried the 1,000 other things that are offered that focus on external reasons for why you're out of shape and not the real reason, which is why you can't stop yourself from getting a milkshake. They don't focus on discipline, consistency, identity, self-worth, self-belief, strategies of self-sabotage. Their systems are, oh, your bench press technique is wrong. That's why you're fat. No, it's because whenever you walk past a bowl of Skittles, you can't stop yourself from putting your hand in it. That's why you're fat. So yeah, your body goes, and we can spend 30 minutes talking about the consequences of not having the body you want, as we started off with the beach example, and self-belief, self-confidence, testosterone tanking, health, early death, bad model for your kids, being a hypocrite, many things, but there's other things in this podcast. I'm going to get to the blueprint and strategies, how to help you. So also your kids, right? But yeah, our kids model us. If your kid goes into your car and there's stuff everywhere, he's like sitting on wrappers and there's dirt and it's just a mess in the car, are you in a situation where you can then yell at your kid if his book bag is messy? if his locker's messy, if his teacher says, "Hey, Nathan, why is your locker messy?" and then your car's a disaster. Is that acceptable, or is he just modeling what his parents gave him as a child? From the parent to the son, is he just modeling that? Yeah, he's just modeling that. If your office is a disaster, your bedroom's a disaster, there's clothes everywhere, are you in a position of moral authority where you can then ask your kids to be disciplined? If I was in that position, I wouldn't even say anything. I would feel like such a hypocrite. I would say, no, Chris, I must fix myself first before I even consider saying anything to my kids. Otherwise, I'm just a hypocrite. The words I'm speaking to them won't have an effect. So I get no bonus points for saying the right thing. Like, oh, a father's supposed to say, yeah, no, don't say it until you've lived it. Until you can model discipline, don't speak about discipline. That's it. What are you great at? What is your skill set? What's your authority? Speak on that. Speak on a thing you're living. If you want to talk about rules, expectations, respect, integrity, well, then you have to live that life. Once you live that life, then you can pass that on to your kids. Otherwise, they're just going to see you as, yeah, my dad talked a big game. He was such a hypocrite. Let's not do that. Let's avoid that and have you become the lighthouse, the disciplined, inspiring leader that your family deserves. So it affects you, it affects your wife, it affects your kids. If you have a business, it affects your business. We have business owners who join us because they're stalled out, or they're decaying, or they know there's something more for them. They know that they're leaving stuff on the table because, once again, they know what to do in their business, but their lack of discipline is causing them to stay stuck. Has nothing to do with needing the right strategy. For some people, it is. Like I said, there's some people who are disciplined, can do what they set their mind out to, and they do need the right strategy. For them, joining a business mastermind where you're learning these little golden nuggets and things, that's exactly what they need. For other people, they just, they say, okay, I have an hour set aside today to call clients to try to get more sales, but I just scroll YouTube for an hour. So spending 20 grand on a business mastermind isn't going to solve that. No, you need to fix your discipline problem. You just need to get up when the alarm goes off and use the gym as a training ground for you. You need to reforge the man. You don't need some multimillionaire to tell you what book he read. For many people I talk to, their ceiling, their threshold for success in all these areas is just discipline. I can't get myself to do it. We have had tons of business people come to us with the exact same problem. And then it's crazy. It's if you have the right perspective, these things can happen. If you come into someone's program and your only goal is looks, you're just going to get looks. You're going to miss all the other stuff. But if you're surrounded by people and coaches who are saying, no, this is where our direction is right now. We want to be selfless leaders. We want to move our life ahead. We want to have a legacy. We want to be disciplined and consistent. If you're surrounded by that environment, then you can make these other changes. But you need the right environment. I'll just keep using the business owner, for example. We've also had salespeople doing the same thing, or people in, we've had a teacher come in who is on the way to quitting his job and starting his own business. As you master your physical discipline, your income goes up. It happened to me. I'm telling you firsthand, yes. I don't have a double-blind, placebo-controlled study to say this. I did not get my master's in discipline. I'm saying this happened with my life, and it has happened with the hundreds of other guys that I've worked with, and it just makes sense. Logically makes sense. If you can get yourself to do something you don't want to do, I'm going to say it as simply as possible. If you can get yourself to do something you don't want to do, that is a muscle that you now have. That is a weapon you can deploy anywhere. If I can be tempted, let's use a fast example. Next week in Men of Fire, we're all doing a fasting challenge. Not for the whole week. I said you can choose any time limit. I'm only doing 48 hours this time. But if you can get yourself to not eat at your favorite restaurant when you're tired, hungry, depressed, stressed out, you want nothing more than to just have a piece of cheesecake, and your son's there putting chocolate in your mouth, and you can say no to that. If you can get yourself to say no to something that's tempting, then let's go back to the business thing. Whenever, say, you have time blocked on your to-do list today, okay, 7 a.m., I need to call 100 people. You're tired, you're hungry, you don't feel like doing it. You don't feel like calling those people, But since you've built that muscle of discipline, you can do it. You're building your willpower. Okay, you're building your willpower. You're building your muscle of discipline. Whenever you are tempted to snap at your children, because once again, you're tired, you're hungry, depressed, all that kind of stuff, you don't want to do it. Okay, you don't want to snap at them. You now have the willpower to refrain from doing that. You've grown that muscle of discipline. It all comes back to being able to control yourself physically. The point of our program, the point of what I'm talking about, isn't to get ripped. That can happen. I don't even care if you get ripped, shredded. That's not the point. Getting healthy and active is what we want. We want you to not be living in a shell of the person you could be, whether that's 5% body fat or 14% body fat. Doesn't matter to me. I want you to be healthy, active, present, patient, and lead your family. The fitness part of this is not the point. That is a tool. The point is selflessly leading your family, is being a giver of energy, is your legacy and memory of being a warm hug to your family. When your wife sees you, she wants to run to you. When your kids see you, they smile because they know dad's going to wrap them up in a warm embrace because he's present, he's patient, he has complete control over himself, and he's not stressed out because he's scrolled YouTube for 30 minutes instead of completing his emails. That's what we're trying to do. And it all comes back to training yourself physically. So I'm not going to get through all of them. This is so baked into everything I talk about. I could do a 3-hour podcast on this, but if I looked at my analytics, it'd be 5 of you left by the end of that. So I'm not going to do that. I still have to get to the specific strategies. And I've been weaving strategies in and out of here, but I've got written down like specific things. So let's, what's the why? We said what, who, why. This happens because you have a slowly eroding story of who you are. That's it. Every negotiation you made makes you believe that you are less disciplined subconsciously. And your expectation of yourself goes down with every single negotiation. So this picture you have of yourself with every negotiation of your discipline dims and dims and dims in your own mind. Like if I said, okay, Chris, imagine yourself at your most disciplined point. I'll say I was 21 years old doing P90X in my basement, teaching full-time, coming back running 6 miles. That Chris, he would imagine himself as a ripped savage. 5 years later, after all these excuses, if I said, Chris, imagine yourself, it'd be the guy on the beach who's with his head down, sad, looking at his gut. And then if that Chris, instead of having a salad for dinner, went and had some beers and cheeseburgers, he would imagine himself even fatter because I just proved that right. I then would be living up to that mental picture I have of myself. Hey, we can't become something that we don't believe we are. We can't arrive at a destination that is different than the one that is living in our head. Like if you're on a boat, you will end up where you are, where your target is, where your sail is set, where the GPS is pointed. The image you have of yourself in your brain, the story you're telling yourself about yourself is that GPS. That is the destination. That is the target. You will end up at the point you believe you are. So with each negotiation, with each slip in discipline, with each, I'll wait till I'm ready. I can't act on my dreams right now. I don't feel good. I'm not motivated. I'm not inspired. I'm not ready. I'll do it on Monday. I'll start tomorrow. I'll do it when it's convenient, when the timing's right, when everything in my life is perfect. With each of those, with every time you say, hey, I'm not going to drink tonight, and then your buddy offers you a beer, and you're like, whoop, who is that guy? And you drink it. Every time you set the alarm for 4 a.m., it goes off, and you say, who is that guy who was motivated to go to the gym? Every single one of those is a little crack. Okay, imagine a big block of stone, and there's a really small crack. Every time you say, nah, I'm not going to get up, that crack just grows bigger and bigger. And before you know it, 2 decades have passed, you're mid-40s, and you've got a canyon between the person you wanted to be and the person you are right now. And then that's where the anger comes from, the frustration comes from, the lack of presence, the lack of patience, because you're on the other side of that canyon looking over saying, wow, I could have been that guy. It's going to take me so long to get back there. And then some people say, fuck it, I'm not going back there. Be too much of a journey, be too hard. And they just turn around and accept life as it is. Other people become rising fathers. That's what we do. We light that fire under you. We awaken the giant within. We light the fire, and you realize, hey, no, the last 2 decades have been a lesson for me. I needed that to become the man. That's the perspective shift you can have. So the only way you can use the information, like the books and the workouts and the nutrition and the information, like business information to scale your business, health information to scale your health, we'll call that toolbox number 1, info. Toolbox number 2 is discipline, consistency, emotional control, perspective, identity, breakthroughs, cutting your vices out. The only way you can use toolbox number 1 is with toolbox number 2. You can't use all the information if you haven't fixed your discipline, consistency, emotional control, willpower. It can't happen. So if you want to be somebody who can utilize courses, information, stuff, things coaches say, other things, you have to become a person who focuses on the internal blockages. The only way you can use external information is if you fix your internal. No external changes will happen until you fix the internal. So let's get to let's head into it now. Let's talk about some actual strategies for you, a blueprint. And I think I said in my content, I'll give you like 3 strategies. I'm going to give you a bunch of strategies. So first off, and we're going to start simple, and some of these will be more complex, more philosophical. Some of them will be concrete. First obvious one that you've heard many places is just start small, right? How many times have we said that? People have said that. Get out of bed. Okay, if you can't get out of bed, then you need to set a small, arbitrary goal for yourself today and just hit it. Prove to yourself that you can do something you promise. I'm serious. The smallest possible thing. Because obviously you can't do the greatest possible thing if you can't do the smallest possible thing. You'd be like, oh, come on, Chris. I can set my goals higher than getting up in the morning. Okay, prove it to me. Get up in the morning. If you can't do that, no, then you're not even ready for that. I would love to say, okay, your goal is to run a marathon by the end of the week. But if you can't get out of bed tomorrow when your alarm goes off, you're not going to run a marathon next week. You have to be truthful. Drop your ego and accept where you truly are in life right now. Accept your true level of discipline and willpower. So if it's 9 a.m. and you're listening to this, I want you to say, at 12 a.m., when I go to the lunch break room, the faculty lounge, wherever you're eating lunch, your kitchen, I am not going to eat anything besides a piece of meat and a salad or some healthy variation. Or you say, I'm not going to eat a chocolate chip that's in our cupboard or a Snickers bar that's on the counter. I'm only going to eat this food. This is step number 1, even before waking up, because waking up early is hard if you're not used to doing that. So you're going to say, you're going to give yourself a meal plan for 1 meal, and I want you to see if you can do that. See if you can last 1 meal when you plan it in advance and only eat that. And here's the thing. If you can do that, you're going to feel strong and powerful. It's as small as that. And then what do? Then we start compounding. Then we start adding things on. So start small. Here's the second strategy. Never break promises. There are no small promises. Be aware of the rationalizations you give yourself. Oh, it's okay, blank, 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 and we're going to go into excuses next. But be aware of every single promise you are breaking to yourself. There are none. I said I was going to wake up. I didn't. I said I wasn't going to drink. I did. So that goes into the next one, which is identifying your excuses. This is huge for us in Men of Fire. And for me personally, I've got my morning routine. I say, Chris, you are likely to do these things. These are the excuses that the little weak bitch self inside of you is going to try to tell you, I deserve it. I've worked hard all week. I deserve blank. Okay. Oh, you had a win, so you don't have to do. You had a business win, so you don't have to blank tomorrow. You had a health win, so you don't have to blank. So the I deserve it is a massive excuse that many, many guys have. Identify the excuses you have. It's the weekend, so that's another I deserve it. And if this podcast is coming out on Thursday. The Monday podcast was all about noble lies and truths. If I decide to keep the order the same, it's my daughter's birthday, so I have to drink Dr. Pepper ice cream and have cake. I have to have 4,000 calories of junk food for me to prove my love to my daughter. It's not that I just love the taste of sugar. I can't tell myself no. It's that I need to prove my love to my daughter by putting sugary things in my face. Be aware of the lies you tell yourself. So what are the excuses that you always make to yourself? And if you go back to the Monday podcast, the entire one is on these excuses and lies, and I call them noble truths we talk to ourselves. So we said, start small. I gave you a system for that. I said, never break promises. And then we said, identify your excuses. 4, identify your triggers for relapse. Okay, we just said, guy broke through with his alcohol addiction recently in Men of Fire. And he said, what I realized is I tend to, when this situation happens, I tend to want something that bridges the emotional gap for me, like to cover up that emotional space that I need. Like I have this emotional norm, and alcohol was doing that for me. And if I don't have alcohol, then I'm tempted to do sugar or whatever it is. So his trigger was a certain situation that happened that caused him to want that Band-Aid. That's his trigger. For some people, it's I get in a fight with my wife, and as soon as I get in a fight with my wife, I look at porn, or I need a drink, or I need to eat something sugary so I can feel good. When I get in an altercation with another person, that is my trigger to indulge in a vice that keeps me stuck. Or my kids are upset, or I have a business failure, or someone at work's upset at me, or blah, blah, blah. What is your trigger? Or is it complacency? Is it boredom in the middle of the day? When I'm bored and complacent in the middle of the day, I tend to blank. This is for you to be honest with yourself. Number 5, practice physical discipline every single day. This is number 1. This is it. And I made that connection at the very beginning of this. You have to practice physical discipline. That is what ties everything together. If you cannot control what you eat and what you can force yourself physically to do, you're going to lack the discipline to do all these other things. If you are 100 pounds overweight, looking sloppy, you are not disciplined. There's no situation where you are disciplined. You cannot say I'm disciplined and not be disciplined. Sorry, you cannot say I am disciplined and not be disciplined with your body. Does not happen. Maybe it's just my belief, but no. If I see you at a buffet, just like when I've shoving a Golden Corral rolls in your mouth, and you say, "Oh, I'm super disciplined in my business." No, you're not. That used to be me. Me and my brothers back in the day. We would go to this old country buffet, and we would eat like plates of ice cream and just so much food at the buffets. And even into my college years, me and my buddies would go to these, the Asian buffets, and we just down tons of food. Not disciplined. Next, raise the stakes. Got this one and one more for you. And the last one's probably the most important one. Raise the stakes. So at your job, why do you show up on time? Well, it's because if you don't, you're going to get fired if you do it enough, or you get a bad report. People look down on you. Your reputation will go down. So that is an example of the stakes being raised for you being held to your discipline, right? If you do not do this, something's going to happen to you, okay? It's a big deal. What you need to do is raise your personal stakes. You need to say, if I don't do this, something's going to happen. One thing we do in Men of Fire is we post publicly to our safe, supportive, inspiring community of guys who all do this. We hold each other accountable to the things we want to be held accountable for. So a guy might say, I'm having 0 sugar for the next 30 days. I'm having 0 alcohol for the next 30 days. Or I make a promise that I'm going to take my wife out on a date every week for the next month, whatever it is. And we say, please hold me accountable to this. And the whole group does. But that's how we raise the stakes, because you don't let the team down. You say, because if you keep it to yourself in your head, you can lie to yourself. You can make excuses. You can create a story that's bullshit to yourself, and you can wash it under. You can tell yourself, you didn't really mean that. You can tell anyone. No one knows. But if you raise the stakes, now people know. Now you will be held to a standard. So raise the stakes for yourself. Yeah, I'll do the last one. I was considering doing more. Like I said, I could talk about this for hours. The last one is, as I've been talking about, is fix your environment. If you're around undisciplined, toxic, negative people that are not consistent, that are okay being complacent and average, you can't help but have that wear off on you. That's like being in a room, covered in smoke. It's like you're walking from a room that there was a bonfire in, walking out and expecting not to smell like smoke. You can't not take that stench with you. That is what your crowd is. That is the voices that fill your head, what you're listening to, the music, the podcasts, the people you talk to at work, your family members, hopefully not your immediate family members. You cannot walk out of a smoke-filled room and not take that stench with you. That is your crowd of people. That is the podcast you listen to, the YouTube videos you're watching, people at work you talk to, even some family members you talk to. The voices that fill your head, that is the stench that is on you. Does it smell, or is it a great smell? You can't walk out of that room and not take that smell. So you cannot not be impacted by the people you surround yourself with. We've got guys in our group. Sorry to talk about it so much. I'm in the group all day. They're like, I cut out all social media and I'm just in this. All I do is I look at the posts and I do my job. I'm with my family and I just do this so that I'm only surrounded by people who want to be their best. And if that's what you're surrounded by, you're doing that, you're journaling, you're reading books from positive people that make you more wise and inspirational, then it's going to affect you. What you're going to smell like isn't going to be smoke. It's going to be a warm, inspirational person who wants to be a leader. That's the difference. So I'm going to end with one final thought here. There's nothing that men fear more than consistency. I mentioned fasting before. Some guys will use a fast as a Band-Aid for a lack of discipline and consistency, because it is much harder to follow a meal plan and general nutrition guidelines. It's harder to be self-controlled with your nutrition for 30 days than it is to fast for 3 days. Way harder. Because over that 30 days, you'll be tempted 1,000 times. And the immense strength of saying no 1,000 times in a row is a much larger muscle than a strength of not eating for 3 days. The ability to get yourself to do the same boring, consistent thing over a long period of time is what so many guys are afraid of. They want results faster. It took them 20 years to completely ruin their body, but they want to be shredded in 90 days. They want 75 days, man. They're going to change their life. If they don't do that, they're a failure. They did something wrong. No. Can you be consistent? Can you develop the muscle that actually matters, which is discipline, which is your identity, consistency, how you see yourself? The sprint and crash method of, I'm going to do a 30-day fast because for the past 20 years I was undisciplined. It doesn't work. That's a Band-Aid for right now, and then you always go back because you haven't fixed the problem. The problem isn't the fasting. The problem is you can't tell yourself no. That's the skill. That's the muscle that hasn't been developed right now. So no sprint and crash method. Don't fear consistency. Embrace it. That is your level up. Consistency and discipline is your level up, so don't run from it. And as always, if you want to be surrounded by accountability, brotherhood, you want to work with me personally, and you want to be part of our savage badass group of fathers who are obsessed with discipline, consistency, rising, and being selfless leaders, in the description, there's a link to learn more about Men of Fire. You can apply, book a call, and we'll chat. Talk to you soon, guys.